I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing good, man. And we're just trying to figure out, get insight on what Payton brings to the table. And one of the stats that sticks out to me most is that, yes, he had Drew Brees, who's a Hall of Famer, who I think he's at least at a hand in getting his career to where it was. But he's had success with Teddy Bridgewater. He's had success with Jameis Winston. He's had success with Taysom Hill. What is it about him and his ability to bend the offense to the skills of the quarterbacks from what you've seen?
Yeah, I think Sean is one of the best, if not the best coach in terms of helping people play to their strengths. You can look at it not only from a quarterback perspective, but you can also look at it from a skills position perspective. Look at what he was able to do with Michael Thomas. And, Michael Thomas wasn't known as a vertical threat. So he helped him optimize the middle of the field, and Michael Thomas had the most catches in NFL history in one season. So when you're looking at the quarterback position, he knew Drew was timing, and Drew had a certain set plays that were just money plays. Teddy Bridgewater the same way, Taysom the way he would scheme those things up, and people would know that it was coming, and they still couldn't stop it. And Sean just knows how to really build a culture, and he just helps everybody, and coaches included, operate from a place of strength.
How did you end up in New Orleans, Benny? Take us through the story. The reason I ask that is because I want to know how much of a say does this coach have in personnel matters? And I know he's going to want a say when he comes to Denver. So did you have to get his blessing before you showed up there?
No, I didn't have to get his blessing. So Drew came out here to work out with Emmanuel. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, especially here in Denver, Emmanuel Sanders. So Drew came out here to work out during COVID. We didn't know if we were going to have OTAs, so Drew flew out here to work out with Emmanuel. There was only one receiver, and Emmanuel asked if I wanted to get some routes in and get some work in just to stay ready because we didn't know. There were so many unknowns about the season, and we get about halfway through the workout, and Drew asked me who I was with, and I told him I couldn't go on any visits right now because the world was pretty much shut down, except for guys who could fly private like him. And he called Mickey Loomis and Sean Payton the next day. They called my agent, and we basically worked out getting me a 1-year deal. And obviously, I had Sean told me up front, like, hey, you have to come here and make the team. You're one of Drew's guys, but if he's vouching for you, obviously we're going to give you every shot. But he was like, you've been a B+ special teams player. You need to be an A+ special teams player for you to make this team, and I'll try to fit you in on offense. So when I bring that story up, he's authentic, he's transparent, and he helps you understand, like, this is what it's going to be. And I think he will do that for some of these players and in this team and this culture here. And I've already kind of reached out to Tim Patrick and Justin Simmons, two of the players that were still here when I was here, and just letting them know, like, this will be the hardest you've ever worked.
Wow.
But it'll be good. Yeah. But for
So,
sure,
so that's great to hear. Benny, that is great to hear because I think that's exactly what this team needs. How is he then? All right, so as a coach, we know he demands a lot. How is he as a dude? I mean, like, how does he interact with players?
Just great conversation. Knows a lot about you. Does his research. He is. I mean, you can see the video. I think I saw the video that Emmanuel posted. He is a player's coach, but he knows how to separate that. He knows how to compartmentalize those conversations and those interactions. This team will be prepared. He will throw out situations from day one of OTAs to the last day of training camp and all throughout the season of situational football. His football mind, his football knowledge is incredible, but he is one of the guys. I mean, he's a coach that's sponsored by Michael Jordan, and he'll bring up stories about that in the locker room, and there will be music playing, but he immerses himself in the locker room and with the team.
Benny, it's just so interesting to me because you've caught passes from so many good quarterbacks, and everybody seems to think, and even he has admitted, I need to be fixed. We're talking about Russell Wilson. So with what you've seen out of Russ, and it'll be 35 in the middle of next year, and you're Sean Payton coming in here, and you have all this offensive knowledge, Benny, what would you do? What have you seen work in the past to get this guy playing as good as he can right now, whatever that level may be?
Yeah, I think we're going to go back to what made Russell Wilson, which was extending the play, which I know he can still do. We saw that in the last couple of weeks of the season. So that's where we're going to operate from. We're going to move the pocket. We're going to have misdirection. and we're going to lean on the run game. I think that is, and obviously the Broncos had a lot of injuries this year, but that's what Sean will do. Sean will take all of the film from last year, all of his highlight clips and the plays where he made where he was the most explosive, and he will put those together, and then he will put all of those clips together. I would say in the last, from year, obviously 30 years old to 35, and he will look at all those clips and these are how we will operate, and we'll be able to operate in all these plays from a standpoint of all the different personnel: 3 receivers, 2 receivers, 1 receiver, or 3 tight ends. And the defense will never know what's coming. So that's what I expect to see Sean do with Russell Wilson, because the talent is still there. I mean, dude can still throw the ball a mile. He can still run. He can still move the pocket. So he doesn't need to be fixed. He just needs to go back to operating from a place of strength, which is what got him here.
Benny, when you said you talked to Tim Patrick and Justin Simmons, and it's the hardest you're going to work, what does that mean?
Sean is, these are 2.5, 3-hour practices. And, it's different. When I was out there playing in New Orleans, that was the hardest training camp I had, and that was year 7 for me. So it's going to be a lot of plays. It's going to be a lot thrown at them. But in terms of, it will be the hardest they've ever worked. And, Sean is the only coach that I played for in the NFL. Usually, especially out here in Denver, you get your conditioning while you're practicing, and you get plenty of it. But Sean is the only coach I played for in the NFL that we condition after practice.
It's interesting. Go ahead.
That's
Zach.
sort of like Joker. The Joker does that with the Nuggets. He works out after practice.
Yeah.
You got to get a little extra sweat. I mean, I am, just by what you've said so far, Benny, just the discipline and the expectations. I think the greatest attribute for a coach, Benny, help me out if you think this is on, is you have to be transparent and you have to communicate your message to the point where there's nothing confused. Here's what my expectations are. Now do it. If you don't, that's on you, not on me. Is that the kind of coach he is, essentially?
Yeah, I think if you look at coaches, the coaches that are left, even in the playoffs right now, or a Gary Kubiak or Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, these are guys who are authentic and transparent people. And they don't sugarcoat anything, and then everybody knows where they stand. And I think Sean is one of the best at that. There is no gray. Like, it's either black or white with him in terms of what he's trying to convey and what he's trying to achieve. And he lets people know up front, if you don't fit into his culture, if you don't fit into his locker room, he has no problem moving you.
Interesting.
And that's no different than, CEOs in the world, entrepreneurs in the world. The people who are transparent and authentic and clear about what they want, clear about their vision, achieve the most success.
I got to ask you one more thing here before we let you go. And your information has been unbelievably good, but I got to find out about this one play. So, Brett, the very first time we had you on, Brett called you former running back. You probably recall
it was a mistake.
That. And so we've absolutely hammered him every single time ever since.
Kill him, Benny.
But you did have a rush at one point, didn't you? I mean, you had one carry for 20 yards, right?
In New York?
Yeah, in New York, right?
Yep.
Well, okay. I mean, if it's your only carry of your life, you got to remember the play.
Well, that's my only carry in the NFL. Of course.
Yeah.
I begged them all week to let me run it, because I think Sterling Shepard was running it in New York, and he had got hurt or had a concussion or something, and I was begging the coaches, like, I can run this. I will get the first down and 20 yards.
So, on top of that, Benny, as we're talking about, career and the teams that you played for, what the hell do you make of the Chiefs with 5 straight AFC Championship appearances, another Super Bowl that they're making now? Like, what is that team? When you look at them offensively, it's like, what makes that click so much outside of just Mahomes being incredible?
I mean, we got a chance to see it here. You got a chance to see it longer than I did with Payton. It's no different. When you have a quarterback who can observe and see the field and get everybody involved in the play, you're going to win the AFC West 4 times in a row. Now, the AFC Championship game 5 times in a row, I think that is a combination of Patrick Mahomes is one of, if not the most talented quarterback now we've ever seen. And I know, he's early in his career, but in terms of the way he moves and throws the ball off balance throws, is incredible. And then, the second half of the game, he misses his top three receivers. He's continuing to make incredible throws. The 3rd and 10 MVS was incredible. And then their defense is opportunistic and making plays and getting sacks. But I think it's a combination of just Andy Reid. He doesn't try to take anything away from Patrick Mahomes, and Patrick Mahomes is just ultimate confidence. So, it's kind of crazy to see, but I know we got to change that here. We can't – that has to stop now with Sean coming in here. And Sean will make that a point of emphasis in that locker room that the Kansas City Chiefs have been dominating this division, and that stops now. And he took it – I mean, obviously, Sean when Brady came there, he made an emphasis in that locker room that he will not dominate. We've always dominated this division, and I think his record against Tom was 4-2, and they were blowout wins and brutal wins for New Orleans. But they beat Tom up a lot.
Yeah, it's Bennie Fowler, former Bronco, joining us here, and also played on teams Sean Payton coached on. Benny, always appreciate the time. Thank you so much.